All right. I'd like to welcome everybody out to the February 3rd, 2021 Planning Commission. Oh, sorry about that. Hold on a second. Press pause. All right. Hopefully that won't happen. I'm by myself and we got a new puppy, so we'll see how this goes. All right. Welcome everybody tonight to the Planning Commission, February 3rd, 2021, North Ogden City. I'm Chairman Thomas. I'll be conducting tonight. We'll begin our meeting with an invocation or a thought by Commissioner Barker, followed which will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Nancaro. We'll go to that point.
Okay. Our Father in heaven, we begin this Planning Commission meeting. We're grateful to be able to be of service to the community of North Ogden. As we bless us and help us during this time, that we be mindful of who we represent and our purpose for being here. We'll strive to do those things which are best for the community of Ogden. They'll make it a bit, continue to be a good place to live. And say, in Jesus Christ, amen.
Okay, for the Pledge of Allegiance, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we'll make note of our roll call tonight. All active commissioners are currently here tonight. Being at 5, we'll have 2 new commissioners beginning, and our farewell to Commissioner Waite. Let's go on to that item number 2, retirement. How's that feel, Don? Retirement of Commissioner Don Waite. He's served his faithful 2 terms or to us, and Rob Scott will discuss that with us. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you very much, Chairman. It's been a pleasure working with you, Don. You and I have served together since I came on board a few years ago as well. So one of the nice things that has taken place is that there was a resolution passed by the council this past week that identifies some of the things that Don was involved with. I don't know if you can call that up or not, Lynn.
Yep.
All right.
Oh, where did I put it?
I think it's slide 3.
Is it?
Uh-huh. Oh, you inserted the...
This is kind of like going to your own funeral.
I know. Oh.
Look at slide 2. You inserted the flag. That's all you've done there. Oh, okay. I don't know what you did with it.
I don't know where it's gone.
Well, in any case, while she's looking for that, in addition to the nice resolution that identifies the 7.5 years of Don's service, he served as both the chair and the vice chair of the Planning Commission. He was a part of general plan activity and the development as we revised it here back in 2015. And I don't know how Lynn came up with these numbers, but I certainly don't dispute them. More than 70 projects have been reviewed in that period of time. So to say that there's just a few things going on in North Ogden would be right on target, I would suggest. So it's been my pleasure and privilege to work with Don. And in addition to that, the city has put together a nice little plaque and a thank you note that Lynn will be delivering to you. We wish we were there in in person.
Oh, wow.
To be able to share that with you, and that will be something that will be a nice remembrance for your time of service. And I think about being a part of my career and the things that I've done. One of the highlights, and you've heard me say it many times, but it just never grows old, and that is that it's been such a huge blessing and an understanding in my life to be able to work with people who really want to make a difference in their community. So Don, thank you so very much. You and Sally, I'm sure will have great things ahead of you.
There's a lot going on, and it will be interesting. I guess this is the first time I've actually retired from anything. I've been kicked down the road a few times, but retirement is like voluntary, I guess. It's been a pleasure serving in North Ogden, and I've really enjoyed everyone that I've had the opportunity to work with. Eric, you were there when I started, and you're still there. So we'll see. I'll wait and see how long you hang on.
Yeah, I appreciate all the time. You know, Don, we've had a lot of time together, and like interesting to hear that those projects and stuff that you've been involved in. I know from experience some of the major things that Don's been involved with us is, probably one of the bigger things is the general plan update, the charrettes and the things involving the public at that time, and a lot of planning and things for the city that we really kind of got involved with while Don's had his time here. So been fun from that standpoint, the auxiliary dwelling units to auxiliary buildings to street designs and many things. A couple of years of form-based code education and field trips, and so we appreciate all your service, Don, and the time that you've spent. You've served your community well and spoke well for the people, and engaged very well and treated them with respect and kindness. So I've appreciated the time you've been with us.
Well, thanks. I'm still not sure how much I'm going to miss it.
That means you did a good job. You're ready.
It's kind of refreshing to know that as soon as this little bit is over, I can hang up.
Yeah. If anybody retires and then they miss it and want to go back to work, that means they didn't work hard enough. So the fact that you're thinking you're not going to miss it, you worked hard enough and put in the time needed. So that's been great.
All right. Well, thanks. I appreciate everybody.
When we're back in person, then we'll come by and shake all our hands and
okay.
Come in as an applicant for something and we'll deny you.
Now to apply for something. Not sure what that's going to be.
Big garage in your backyard, metal building, something exciting.
Oh yeah. Well, I've already got the metal building built, but not in my other backyard.
All right. Well, thank you, Don.
All right. Thanks. All the best, everyone.
You too, Don.
All right. Well, see you around.
Thanks,
I'm not
Don.
going very far.
It's been great working with you, Don.
Yeah, I'll take care and keep the city council under control.
That's a major miracle, you know.
I don't know if you saw, but Brandon said thanks to you. His microphone isn't working. So, and he says grr.
Brandon, try and log in on your phone. Sometimes I do that, and then I just use my computer to follow the agenda, but if that will get the audio in. All right. Well, thanks, Don. We'll move on to.
All right. Thank you. See you later.
Our elections for chairman and vice chairman for 2021. Now is the time when we'll select who will be the chairman for this upcoming year and serve as vice chairman with the Planning Commission. Does anybody have any nominations or would like to throw their name in the hat?
I have a motion I'd like to make. I would like to make a motion that Commissioners Thomas and Mason continue in their current roles as chairman and vice chairman respectively. I think they do a great job. I can't imagine, what we would do without their knowledge and expertise guiding us through this. And, I just appreciate everything they do and how valuable they are.
I am a second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Commissioner Mason, do you have feeling? I'm happy to serve again. I appreciate your guys' vote of confidence. Totally willing if somebody wants to take the reins as well. Commissioner Mason and I talked a little bit about it. Are you chatting at all, Commissioner Mason?
It looks like he's trying to connect to audio.
Oh.
Now, having made that motion, if anybody else has interest in assuming one of those positions, I'm certainly, not, locked into anything, but I think they just do such a great job. I can't imagine not having them leading us.
Lynn, do you know, while we're talking about that, do you know what Commissioner Mason's expiration this year, or is it continue on, or?
The only one that expires is Lisa expires in 22.
Okay.
And let's see, Mason expires in 2025.
Right, mine's in 23.
Did we pick someone? Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
You can.
I got the phone going here.
So Commissioner Nancaro made a motion that nomination of myself continuing as chairman and you continuing as vice chair. Do you have any suggestions to that, or would you?
I think we all wholeheartedly.
I do. I'm fine to continue in that role, but I like the idea of mixing it up as well. So I am 100% happy to not continue, or if nobody wants to do it, I'm happy to continue. But I like the idea of variety also. So
I feel the same way. If personally, I was going to nominate Commissioner Nancaro to help to at least start the process down, and whether I bow out and Commissioner Mason and Nancaro take over, or Commissioner Mason, we've talked. Either one of us is fine to. I feel the same way.
You're going nowhere.
What?
You can't go anywhere. It's got to be, if someone leaves, it's got to be me. I'm the least qualified.
How would you feel about serving?
I'm sorry, did you ask me?
Carol, how would you feel about serving?
I wouldn't mind, but I would prefer not to this year.
Okay. Well, I totally respect that as well. So you made the motion, and if that's your feeling, then we can leave it as the nominations were made and seconded. It comes with a hefty, excellent retirement package. When we meet in person, you get to be the first one to take a beverage out of the fridge. Well, if there's no other discussion or nominations, then we can, as it stands, Commissioner Thomas has been nominated as to continue as chairman and Commissioner Mason as vice chair. If there's no other discussion, we'll go ahead and vote. We'll just do a voice roll call. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Brandon, you didn't oppose either, so.
Well,
right,
I mean,
continue.
I didn't really hear anyone. I missed the meeting where I was hoping someone would say hey, I kind of am interested, and then I was going to jump on that. So was there anyone interested? I don't need this to feel good about myself. So I have all the confidence in the world that I'm awesome. So somebody else wants to do it.
Well, we've already voted now, so you're in.
All right.
So, well, I know, I appreciate the vote of confidence, and I do, and I may continue to mix things up a little bit this year, inviting others to conduct some meetings and things like that, so that we can kind of spread some of that guidance of the public around and that. But anyway, thank you for that. We will continue on. Item number
Chairman?
4.
Just one comment, and that is that the city council also made a replacement for Don Waite. For those who may or may not have heard, that Johnson Webb has been selected and approved by the council to be the planning commissioner. He has had a previous commitment tonight as a volunteer, and so in the future he'll be joining us, but is not able to come to this meeting tonight.
Okay. I
Rob,
knew that.
Sorry,
I-
Rob, what did you say his name is?
Johnson Webb. You might
Okay.
want to take a look at item number 9 on your agenda.
Oh,
He wasn't trying to buy our vote either by trying to come
oh,
up.
well, I did peruse it earlier, but I don't know who he is, so it didn't stick.
Yeah, so him, and I thought it was on the agenda, so sorry, I should have brought that up. Is both Commissioner Nancaro was selected to continue another term, and she's graciously accepted. And Johnson Webb will be replacing Commissioner Waite. So very capable. Had the chance to meet and talk with him. He's been before the Planning Commission. If you guys remember the subdivision right on 2600 and Fruitland Drive, where on the north side, he owns some property right there, and he's been before us in the past about
Oh, yeah, okay.
As it relates to that property that connects to that subdivision Pat Burns has done right there. So, all right, item 4, minutes consideration. Consideration and action to approve the January 20th minutes. Sorry, didn't see the date. Is there any corrections or comments on those minutes?
I looked those over and feel, this is Commissioner Mason, I feel that they were accurate and would move that we approve them.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right. We'll move on to our opening meeting statement. I'll read that. Before each agenda item begins, city staff will give a report. After the staff report, the item will be opened for other speakers. The applicant will speak first and be allowed up to 10 minutes. Following the applicant, any other interested person will be allowed to speak for up to 3 minutes. The applicant has final rebuttal time of up to 5 minutes. Any materials that are displayed or referenced, example of pictures or written materials, as part of the record and must be forwarded to the commission. Speakers are required to have registered their full name on Zoom and will state their name and address before beginning their remarks. If you agree with the previous speaker, then state your agreement to avoid repetitious remarks. Speakers shall address all comments to the Planning Commission. Please silence your microphones or mute your microphones until ready to speak. Thank you. All right, item 6, ex parte communications or conflicts of interest. I'll begin that one off by I am the applicant for item number 8. A subdivision up on our property, additional of North Oaks Cove. So I will be excusing myself on item 8, and Commissioner Mason will conduct that item, and then I will address the Planning Commission as the applicant. And then, as you know, now that we've discussed, Commissioner Webb is the applicant for item number 9. He's not in the meeting tonight, so we don't have a conflict, obviously, of him voting on his project or having to excuse himself. Is there any other conflicts or ex parte on the agenda for any other commissioners?
No, I just want to state clearly that, Eric, that you understand your role. And I know you do, but I want it on the record that you understand your role, that the comments you make will be as the applicant and you won't be taking part in any of the discussion. So will you just mute your microphone during that time?
Yes.
Until we call on you, and we'll watch for that. Okay.
Okay. Right now, item number 7, a time for public comments for items that are not on the agenda. If we have any public with us that would like to comment on an item, please raise your hand or type a chat and we will address it. You will have time to speak on a specific item if you're here for an item. I don't see that we. Oh.
Any hands?
Okay. All right. Well, we're our first administrative item, number 8. I'll turn mine as an applicant, so I'll turn the time over to Commissioner Mason to introduce that item and direct us. And I will mute my mic and be the applicant.
Thank you, Eric. So again, I'm having some audio difficulties, so let me know if you guys can't hear me okay. I think I got my computer to work. However, there was a significant delay in the audio. It was like a 5-second delay, which was rather annoying. So assuming this phone thing is working out okay, I'll just look for feedback from you guys. Let's move ahead with item number 8, consideration or action regarding preliminary approval of North Oaks Cove Phase 17 from being presented by Brandon Bell.
Good evening, Chair and members of the Commission. This is again North Oaks Cove Subdivision Phase 17. That's being considered for preliminary approval. The subdivision is proposed to have 5 lots in total. And this is, again, an administrative decision. What's being evaluated is whether this complies with the approval criteria in city code. The applicant again is requesting preliminary approval, and the location of the proposed subdivision, the property is currently vacant. It's located at approximately 3575 North, 950 East. The current zoning at the moment is HP3 and R110. It's portion of the property is in R110, and then the northern portion of the property is currently in HP3. However, there's currently being processed by the city an application regarding a rezone to the HP2 zone. That application has actually been reviewed by the commission at our last meeting, and is currently going to be considered by the council next. The staff recommends as a condition of approval that zoning map amendment and zone change needs to be approved by the city council as a condition of approval prior to final approval of this as a subdivision, that would be necessary for this to be to go on to final approval. The technical review committee met for this subdivision on December 21st of last year. The city engineer submitted a review memo, and that both of those list requirements that need to be met. The HP2 zone that this subdivision is being proposed to be rezoned to requires a minimum lot size of 12,500 square feet on interior lots and corner lots, with a frontage requirement of 100 lineal feet. All of the lots in the subdivision, with one exception, have been verified to meet the required square footage and lot width requirements for buildings in the proposed zone. Again, the HP2 zone. And so, contingent upon this property being rezoned, then most of the lots have been verified to meet the required square footage and lot width requirements. The one exception is that lot 2 we just need a quick verification from the applicant that lot 2 meets the lot width requirement at the 30-foot setback prior to final approval. And that's a recommended condition of approval by staff. We're virtually certain it meets the requirements, but it was close enough. We just wanted to get verification from the applicant through means of a dimension line at the 30-foot setback. Again, we've recommended that a condition of approval for this subdivision should be that it be rezoned to that HP2 zone prior to final approval of the subdivision. There are some issues that are related to the design layout of the subdivision. Lynn, let's see, if you could pull up, I believe it's Exhibit B, whatever is actually the plat. And then thank you much. And if you could zoom out just a little bit, thanks. So here you see 5 lots that's being proposed, oriented around a cul-de-sac at the north and, well, mostly the north end of the property is on the back of lot 4 and 5 would be the same location as what's shown in our general plan as Mountain Road. And so that would actually create 2 double fronted lots, both lot 4 and then lot 5. And I'll give you some more information on that in just 1 second. The first design issue that needs to be addressed is that on the east portion of lot 5, the east and south portion of lot 5, staff is recommending that as a condition of approval that 3550 north, which is already in just to the west of the street that this would extend, that 3550 north needs to be extended to move to and to connect to the future Mountain Road as a condition of approval. The reasoning for this is that this is necessary to meet our block length requirements. Our block length requirements are the maximum is 1,320 feet. And right now, if that road doesn't go through, I believe that the block length on that would be over 1,500 feet. It's like 1,560 feet, as according to memory. It's somewhere approximately around there. And so that road needs to go through in order to connect to Mountain Road and to meet our block length requirements. So staff's recommendation is that the lots in this subdivision need to be adjusted to accommodate the extension of 3550 north to be able to connect to the future Mountain Road as a condition of approval, while leaving the lots to still meet the lot width and area requirements. There are, back to on the topic of the 2 double fronted lots, lot 4 and 5, based on Utah law, our city ordinance is not understood to be restrictive enough to prohibit double fronted lots, and therefore including double fronted lots may be determined by the applicant that as their decision. But and this supersedes a comment that was made in regarding double fronted lots in the engineer's report. However, planning staff does not believe this is an ideal design. There may be issues that develop in the park strip regarding maintenance at the rear of the double fronted lots. And on a related topic to double fronted lots, however, the following regarding requiring fences on double fronted lots is something that our ordinance does permit. And so I've quoted a portion of our ordinance in the staff report with what I believe to be the most pertinent sections I've added as underlined. I'll just read a couple portions of that. Fencing: the developer of a subdivision shall be required to furnish and install a solid board, chain link, wrought iron, or other solid material fence not less than 6 feet in height as part of the approval of a subdivision according to the following requirements. And one of those requirements or situations is double fronted lots. It does state fencing meeting the requirements of this ordinance shall also be constructed in the rear yards of double fronted lots. It notes with regards to these to this fence to be installed that a note should be required to be included on the subdivision plat indicating where the fence was required by the Planning Commission and the basic characteristics of the required fence. There's also a note just to be clear that the requirement for fencing may be waived in specific locations if the applicant requests such upon the approval of the Planning Commission. The ordinance then gives criteria to be considered in that determination, such as topography, slope, total elevation change, traffic, or additional safety related factors. Similarly, the Planning Commission may approve a fence made of other materials which are determined by the Commission to serve as an effective barrier fence if the applicant requests such. The Commission may also, upon request of the applicant, approve other variations in fence characteristics. So based on this ordinance, staff recommends as a condition of approval that the applicant be required to add a 6-foot tall fence in the rear yards of lots 4 and 5, which are the proposed double fronted lots, with a note on the plat specifying that a fence is required in the rear yards of those lots, and the approved material or materials of the fence also noted on the plat. Staff recommends as a condition of approval that no certificate of occupancy should be issued for buildings upon lots where fencing has been required until that fencing has been installed as required. And that's also one of the clauses in the above ordinance that no certificate of occupancy should be issued until for the buildings on lots where fencing has been required. So that comes from our ordinance. And then the final issue that I believe that I need to raise with you is that Mountain Road is a critical area of road and street in the city, and it will provide additional access to access to exiting off the mountain to the north. Currently, right now there's, for the North Cove development, there is a large portion of the Cove that all comes down to one intersection exiting. And so this is a good opportunity as Mountain Road is developed to increase the number of exit points off of the mountain were there to be some natural disaster, whether it be fire, earthquake, or something else. And so that's one reason why it's a critical area of road in the city. Additionally, the property to the north of this needs access to it to provide it in order to be properly developed, and Mountain Road will address that issue as well. Staff recommends as a condition of approval that there needs to be a resolution to the issue of whether Mountain Road will be developed as part of this subdivision or at the time the property to the north is developed prior to consideration for final approval. Included in this discussion and resolution needs to be the issue of what degree of responsibility for constructing Mountain Road in this area should belong to the applicant as part of this subdivision. With lots 4 and lots 5, I can't see the street name for that the cul-de-sac is part of, but that's on basically the southwest side of lots 4 and 5. It's anticipated that those would be the front of the lots. And so immediately to the rear of those lots would be Mountain Road, lots 4 and lots 5. And those would be the double fronted lots. And that's where Mountain Road would go in and help work towards establishing a second access or possibly third access off of the mountain for the subdivisions to the north of this property. And for that reason and others, it's an extremely critical piece of road. The considerations that the Planning Commission may want to take into their deliberations on this issue are: does the proposed ordinance meet the requirements of the applicable city subdivision and zoning ordinances? Is the proposed subdivision consistent with the general plan? The proposed subdivision, given the staff's view, is that given the conditions that have been recommended as conditions of approval, that with those requirements, that this subdivision meets conforms to the North Ogden City General Plan. This area is in the hillside neighborhood in our general plan, and the general plan map calls for this property to be developed as low density residential. I've listed essentially all of the conditions of approval that staff is recommending, and that in this category in the staff report, it should say recommended conditions of approval. but I've noted each of those already in the report, so I won't go through and read each of them again. But the staff's general recommendation is that the Planning Commission grant preliminary approval of the North Oaks Cove subdivision, subject to the conditions, or sorry, of phase 17 of that subdivision, subject to the conditions recommended in the written staff report and as noted in this oral presentation. And I would also point out one exhibit that, just as sort of context, is a concept plan for development to the north that was given us by the applicant's engineer. That's not binding, but it's important to make you aware of that we do have some information on their thoughts on what may be developed to the north, and much of which is obviously not their property, but we've received from them. So I think that covers everything that I have to present to you. I'm happy to take questions from you at this time regarding the subdivision.
I have a few, Brandon.
Okay.
I tried asking him in the presentation and I was muted. Sorry, I was hoping to catch it when you were on this. But regarding the extension of 3550, I have a couple of questions. That obviously impacts the neighbor there at the North Oaks Cove Phase 11. That's lot 215. Was there any consideration to whether or not that existing property would qualify as a corner lot? In other words, with the existing dimensions and setbacks. So in other words, if you put the road right down there next to that lot, what is that going to do to that property? Did they become non-conforming at that point? Did we look at that?
It's my understanding that they either meet or are very close to our corner lot setback. Myself and John and Rob talked about this issue sometime last week. It's our understanding essentially that they received approval for that lot, and there was some awareness that this road would be going through but at this point, we don't feel that we could insist on a literal enforcement of the 20-foot setback. I don't know if it's exactly 20 because that lot's already been approved. And I don't know if it's exactly 20 feet, but it's our understanding that it would be close to 20 feet based on what we measured on aerial photography last week. But since that lot has already been approved, it's not something that we could require them to adjust that lot on a pre-existing already approved subdivision.
Okay, so that's based on the fact that it abuts an existing residence. That's a concern of mine. But also, I noticed that you have a trail easement running along that same route. What is your vision there? Do you see a 6-foot sidewalk or an 8-foot sidewalk? How do we qualify that? There's a trail easement right there on lot 5 on the south corner of lot 5.
Can you zoom in, Lynn, on that? Oh, yeah, thank you. I did not address that in the report, and I didn't. So that may be something that we need to resolve as prior to final approval. I wasn't aware of any standard for the trail that had been discussed. So we may need to look at that and maybe add a condition of approval that we resolve what needs to be done there.
So Brandon, with the connection of the road, the trail easement would be eliminated.
Okay.
And I'm not sure, Lynn, if it's possible for you to pull up a street view of that intersection, but the curb returns are already in. So there's already an indication on the existing road that the roadway was planned to go through. So that lot owner in lot 215, the street out or the curb out in front of their house looks like a street is planned there for the future. And in fact, that's been part of the plan, I think, from the North Oaks Cove back when it was first proposed back in 2002. So kind of the big master plan showed this road making a connection to Mountain Road, in part, I think, to help eliminate that concern with the block length as well as, connectivity and other things.
Okay,
I'm pulling
any
that up.
is part of with the trail easement, but when you extend 3550 north up for the mountain road and it affects lot 5, or the square footage of lot 5 still going to be okay, or is that going to have to be adjusted with the other lots?
That's a great question. So one of the staff's recommended conditions of approval is that, well, first of all, there will need to be adjustment to the lots in order to accommodate that. But we understand it to be a requirement that that road goes through for block length requirements. So the lots will need to be adjusted, and they'll need to be adjusted in such a way that they meet the requirements for the lot width and the square footage requirements for the zone.
Okay, that's part of the staff report, if I remember right.
That is correct. That's a recommended condition of approval, that they be adjusted in a way that they meet the requirements.
Okay.
I had a question, Mr. Bell, about the last bullet on the conditions of approval that were recommended.
Sure.
It says there needs to be a resolution to the issue of whether Mountain Road will be developed as part of the subdivision, basically prior to final approval. Is there anything you need us to resolve or get involved in resolving tonight on that, or just somebody will work that out before we see it again for final?
Preliminarily, what we've discussed is that probably the city manager and the mayor would sit down and discuss what the best way to proceed there is. And so I don't think we need a specific action from the planning commission, but we've put that in the recommended conditions of approval so that the applicant is aware that that issue needs to be resolved with the appropriate parties at the city, and that it becomes a condition of approval that those conversations occur and are that a decision's arrived at prior to final approval. So that, in other words, it's a general recommendation by the planning commission that a resolution happen with the city in a different forum.
Okay, thanks. That clears it up.
Any other questions that I can help answer?
I'm ready to hear from the applicant.
Yeah, let's go ahead, and Eric, if you could unmute your microphone, and then please just listen to our direction as we ask you to mute and unmute, because we may come back with some other questions.
Okay.
Do you have
thanks.
anything to address this?
Yeah, I mean, as part of this application, I guess really a little bit of backstory. As we've kind of created this cul-de-sac, really to kind of create some larger lots. In that design, my engineers also were kind of figuring some other road design. If you look at that, so how this kind of got created was the future Nebo Avenue as it ties into Mountain Road. If you see that other drawing, maybe Lynn, if that one that shows it kind of in red, a satellite view that has the red.
Did it come up?
No, that's the one I just sent you. It was in the packet. I think it was
I believe it is Exhibit E.
I don't know. Yeah, kind of at the very bottom of that item.
Now, Nebo Avenue is part of the north, or the subdivision to the north of this, right? That's the one that goes through the Cove.
Yeah. So I don't.
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
I don't know. On the packet, and then
so
down.
And this is what, and Eric, this is what Brandon was talking about. That was a proposed tentative layout for the.
So just to kind of give you a story how somewhat of this was created is when this was looking at this, if we put a road through there extending 3550, it can't become a four-way intersection to tie in Nebo or anything on the other side because of that reservoir and the slope of the ground. It's too narrow to have a road connect as a four-way intersection and then turn up to Nebo. It would exceed our slope minimums or maximums for the city and the radius going out of an intersection. So this was a drawing they did and said, this is as close as a road could come, not saying it could be further away. So the potential of an intersection with two roads coming in that are only 120 feet apart, or 100 or something like that, 150 feet. So that was kind of done. And then So we just looked at that and said, well, if we eliminate that road and that problem, because Nebo coming down the mountain road is probably more critical than our road connecting, since it's its only way out all the way up there through the Cove. But anyway, that's kind of how this started. And we said, oh, we'll just have this as a larger lot. But, you know, really with all the other potential things that come, this isn't something that I'm like, hey, I'm going to die on this hill and we want that big lot. We actually did a different plat. Maybe Lynn, if you pull that up, that shows really the road going through. And it's probably just more for the planning commission to decide, hey, we want the road, or no, we don't want that road because we don't want additional connections to Mountain Road. Then I'm fine either way. But if you see this plat Lynn has, this is what the adjustment we made to show that road going through. We would have that lot 5 would become, you know, this, just I guess an example. Here's what it is. That lot is still 23,000 square feet. The minimum lot size for HP2 is 12,500. So it's almost double what the minimum requirement is. So that's not an issue. The frontage is 140. So there's no complaints.
Eric, how do you envision that? I'm kind of seeing what you were up against here. How do you envision 3550 then connecting to Mountain Road?
So what you're seeing there, lot 5, is then as Mountain Road develops on that angle going through, what you were seeing on that drawing before, there will be another lot above what would be up the hill from lot 5 that would either front on that side road or on Mountain Road itself. And so really basically we take that big lot 5 and turn it into 2 lots. But because Mountain Road isn't being developed now or anything, we wouldn't put that second lot in. We would make that as part of the future phase that includes Mountain Road. And so
if I could restate the dilemma for the planning commission is, if we carry that lot, if that 3550 road forward, it's likely going to be a jot to get up Nebo Drive or whatever, the future Nebo Drive.
I mean, it will be, it can't be, the one thing I know is it can't be a 4-way intersection there because of the reservoir. And our engineers looked at it with the slope. You'd have to have such a curve on the road, and you create, you know, our maximum, I think, is 12%. You'd have a steeper road than that. So those things involved. So whatever future decides, you know, I don't control the ground above there. That's on somebody else's property. But that intersection would either need to be further away or saying, hey, we're going to have that 2 intersections that are fairly close to each other. It's because Mountain Road goes through there on an angle, it creates a unique situation to tie the other roads in. But, you know, to be honest with you, I have no problems 3550 to, you know, future Mountain Road there. It adds some convenience for, you know, a lot of the neighbors don't want a road to connect right there, obviously, because they don't want added traffic. I mean, going as a note, when Brandon had said, you know, Mountain Road and people coming out of the Cove down Mountain Road and giving another access point, this road doesn't really service that. You know, the future phase we build that has Mountain Road in it actually will tie it to 1050 East. And that's really where we want that traffic to go, is connecting Mountain Road to 1050 and getting all of the Cove and access out that way. And so when we build Mountain Road, it'll be built to that point and providing that avenue of exit. We wouldn't do a 2-lot subdivision just to tie Mountain Road into, you know, this intersection here. So to provide an access out for the Cove, this really won't happen. That next phase Mountain Road will go all the way down to 1050, which that's really the critical path for traffic. But, you know, this would be the plat that, you know, if we need to put that road in, this is what we would do. And I mean, this is kind of what we're leaning towards. It's almost a little bit flip-flop from when we did the application. If the city decides, you know, from planning, hey, we don't want that road connection, then we'd make it that large lot. But there's multiple reasons to put it in there. And so this would be the plat. So this would really be, you know, what we would look at as far as the other addressing items. That makes lot 4 the only double fronting lot, and it just is that one, you know, it's the one angle that abuts Mountain Road there, so partially on that lot. And we can just put a note on the plat that says we'll put a 6-foot fence there. And I would ask that the commission this would probably be more on final, but we would do either a solid fence being vinyl or concrete or composite, or a wrought iron fence as the material that goes there.
Okay, Eric, let me ask you a question. Sorry, were you done with that thought? I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, let me ask you this question, because you've spoken in these meetings many times about your dislike of having a trail run up the side of people's lots, but you've submitted an application with a trail going up between Lot 5 and Lot 11 of North Oaks Cove. So, are you still? Is it your intention if we were to approve with the design as you've submitted it? Is it your intention to carry through with a trail easement and a trail?
Yeah, that was discussed because there's a trail there. I mean, it's trespassing trail that people use, but it does connect up to Mountain Road and then continue on a single track trail up through the private property all the way up to the power lines. But so we put that there both if there needed to be a utility connection that could go in that easement, but that's why I also made it, I don't like those. So that's why I'm like, I'd rather probably have a road, but that's why I had the engineer put it as 20 feet wide instead of a 10, so that it could be a 6-foot wide trail and have landscaping on both sides. So it kind of creates its own, aesthetically access point. But you're right, I don't like those. And that's why, it's like, hey, if we have to run connections, I just soon put a road through there. Like I said, it tends to lean more towards this, having a road in there, with the exception of how do we address how the intersections will be at Mountain Road and other issues. But we don't know what's going to happen up there. And quite frankly, the alignment of Mountain Road could still adjust a little bit. We've done some drawings that show it shifting a little bit further north, but the alignment that we have on that red line is pretty much what it's going to be. So we would create that double fronted lot on Lot 4, but so really the application, I guess we would say, is the plat to really look at is this one with this Lot 5 and the road that you see now. Unless we don't want that road, then it would go back to the other one. So
so can you say which is your preference then?
I think the subdivision that we have right now, that with this smaller Lot 5 and having a road go through, is really kind of what we would end up building. Like, I'm truly 50-50 either way. There's not one way I lean other than I prefer not to have, a trail easement going through there and all that stuff. Then I'd just soon put a road in and do it this way. It does allow for other utility connections. Honestly, as I see land developing up above, when we develop Mountain Road, I see all the utilities really going down Mountain Road into 1050, because that'll be all done at the same time. But but it is convenient. I live close to this area, and it would be convenient to, if I went out that way and I'd go down 1050, we're at a weird, when we did the subdivision back in 2002, the same thing as what we talked about is it's in a weird area because Mountain Road comes through on an angle, and you have 875 East that ties into Mountain Road, and the Cove area. And then you have 800, which is Monroe. And so once all the roads are built out, there's lots of ways to kind of head out of this corner. But until that point, it's a little bit, selective on what roads can be used. So if that gives you anything clear as mud to think about. But really, I would say the subdivision that you have with the road in it, all the things that the city wants and the things like that, I'm fine to, city engineer would like to make sure the roads connect and those things. So this plat here that you're seeing is fine to do.
Thanks, Eric. Can you mute for a second while I ask the city staff a question? We'll call on you to, were you done with your remarks? Give me a thumbs up. Thanks. Okay. So Brandon, back to you. And I'm sorry if any other commissioners had questions, but in your preparation for this, did you guys discuss the future Nebo Avenue and how that would connect? And is your preference still to to have that street go through, given the consideration of Nebo Avenue? Because I think that's a valid thing. And where I'm at on this is kind of we're damned if we do, we're damned if we do, and we're damned if we don't on it. I mean, it's we're kind of picking between two evils here on a couple of different things. And but I would like to know if you guys considered the future Nebo Avenue and the job that would make. And do we still have overriding evidence to go with the layout that we have on our screen?
Sorry, what do you mean by overriding evidence?
So meaning, yeah, that was a weird way to word that. Meaning, are we still compelled to enforce or to go with this 3550 North extension, given the Nebo Avenue?
So, Brandon, Brandon Bell, sorry. Lauren is on this call, and it might, as he would understand the maybe the safety implications of that design with Nebo coming in near 3550. So he might be a good one to respond initially to that question about how those two roads will interact with each other.
Please, Lauren, if you have anything to add, we'd love to hear it.
Sure. Let me add a few things. The offset between Nebo Avenue and 3550, which our standard is, we don't like to see any roads that are closer than 150 feet. And roughly that's what it's showing. Although, you know, Nebo is just conceptually proposed out there. 3550, this is where it would have to go if it's going to go in. 3550 also, besides the reasons Brandon has talked about, it provides just one more additional east-west connectivity between the residents moving from 400 East all the way over to Mountain Road. Otherwise, they would have to jog up through some of the subdivisions at either at 800 or what is it, 875 or something like that to get up to Mountain Road. So, but I don't see any real evidence that it's going to cause a big conflict with the concept that's laid out in red on for those future lots and the way that's going to be laid out. So
thank you. Well, I guess go ahead, Brandon.
My response is that we have a block length standard of 1,320 feet. Without that 3550 North going through, I don't, then it doesn't meet the block length standard. So that divides the block, the distance between other streets on this, on this piece of swath of property in half roughly. And so without it, it doesn't meet it. We have another subdivision coming up that is a similar situation that I don't know what's going to happen there because property's been developed, but like I'm just mentioning what the block length standard is, and that's then the staff's reason for mentioning this, the connection to Mountain Road of 3550 North. So.
Thank you. Guys, when I've been sitting here pondering over this Nebo Avenue as I'm looking at the drawing in red, and I'm having to stop and remind myself that that's just conceptual. There's nothing saying that is going to, that cul-de-sac on Michelle Lane or whatever that is going to actually play out that way, and that those lots are all going to line up that way. We could have a completely different rendering at the time that submission is given to us. So I don't want to be misled too much by a proof of concept. I mean, it's a reasonable proof of concept, very much so, but it's still just an idea at this point. Okay, Commission members, do we have any other questions for the applicant? We can bring him back in or bring city staff in to address anything we have.
I just had one, I guess, question follow-up about the requirement for the 6-foot fence in the rear yards of lot 4 and 5. If I heard the applicant correctly, he didn't have any objection to those requirements. But I know that Mr. Bell had mentioned that, you know, there were some things that could be waived, or I would just want to make sure that he's okay with the requirements for the fence as is.
Eric, you're gonna have to
Yeah.
go ahead and unmute.
Yeah, as part of that, the planning commission's responsibility is to specify material. That's why I just had said, you know, hey, I normally would say, well, we just do vinyl, but having that lot, there's a good chance it could be a wrought iron fence around that entire lot, or there's some people looking at it that I know they like to do a solid composite fence. It's like vinyl, but it's a step above, that almost looks more like concrete wall fence, decorative. So those types of material, you know, our CC&Rs in our North Oaks Cove subdivisions don't allow chain link fence anyway. So it would be, you know, vinyl, or, you know, if they didn't, for some reason, if they didn't want a solid fence there, they'd want that wrought iron fencing. So just as long as those materials are okay, then we would do that. One question I do have, and this is probably more from a training standpoint for all of us on planning commission, is, you know, when Brandon keeps saying block length, adding a connection here to this intersection, I'm not seeing how that shortens a block length, because it's already there. As it sits right now, if we didn't put that road in, these two cul-de-sacs would be considered cul-de-sacs, which fall under our, I think, 1,600 foot length of a cul-de-sac. Because it's not an intersection connecting, it's not a block, but I'm not sure what Brandon's referring to. I myself just asking that, but maybe more so us as planning commissioners. I'm an applicant, but, you know, just from a learning point, saying what are those measurements from, of saying how adding to a road is going to shorten a block length, because adding a road there makes that an intersection. So from that intersection, whatever distance it's going is still an existing length. So that was just my question to Brandon. If it's not there, then the block length goes away and it becomes a cul-de-sac from the intersection of 900 East to the bottom of the cul-de-sac that's already there existing. But if that's what is referred to, I don't know. But that
So
was my question, Brandon.
I'm happy to answer that if the commission's okay with that. Might be helpful if I
Go
could
ahead.
okay.
Well, let me, it might
I
be.
don't know that it matters. It was just simply a question of saying, hey,
it might be a moot point here, but let's discuss that if you have an answer, Brandon. It's on our minds.
Do I have the ability to annotate? I'm not seeing that. I guess.
You should.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that capability, but if you look at Mountain Road in red on this, you'll notice that I think it's Dillon Way that has an intersection with Mountain Road up in the left upper corner of the this conceptual diagram. That's one corner of the block that this is creating. And then you can see down near lot 5, the road will go through there. And then Mountain Road continues down even further to another intersection, which is not on this map. If 3550 doesn't go through, then to Mountain Road, then the distance from that first intersection that I mentioned of Dillon Road and Dillon Way and Mountain Road to the next intersection on Mountain Road on this side of the road would be 1,500 feet. And so if you think about a block being defined by all the roads that it's surrounded by, right, is sort of an island circumferenced by roads, then that distance is 1,560 feet or so. And that's 200 feet longer than what's allowed from intersection to intersection for the block that this subdivision would finish out. If that road doesn't go through. If it does go through, then both sides are somewhere around 800 feet, and it meets the block length requirement. Hope that's clear.
I hadn't considered that block. I'd been thinking internally too. And I was totally buying what Eric's telling there.
Can I add one thing too? The The idea is that as subdivisions are laid out, that the staff is looking at it from a perspective of not just what the existing block length is, but what the potential for future block lengths are. And that would be the situation in this is if the street doesn't go through, then there's no way for the lot or the subdivision above to ever comply with the block length standard. And if it does go through, then that opportunity has now been created for future compliance. And instead of it becoming a permanent cul-de-sac, it's a temporary cul-de-sac, which the city does quite often. You know, a good example is that one up above on Nebo. That is obviously way longer, even of a cul-de-sac, than we typically allow. But because it's a temporary dead end, and the red line that's outlined that ties down into Mountain Road is the future plan subdivision, that subdivision was approved that way because it wasn't the permanent solution. It was a temporary until development comes in the future, if that makes sense.
Eric, if you have anything to rebuttal on that, you can go ahead and raise your hand.
No, it doesn't really apply. I mean, we're looking at saying let's put a road in, but you know that to me, again, this is probably the different hat is the logic of a block length to me is if you have a three-way intersection, that's where our block would cut. But otherwise, Nebo Drive has nothing on that east side from that point all the way up until Dillon Way, which is like 2,500 feet. So using the logic of only one side of the road can't exceed that. In my mind, it's an intersection is what creates blocks, whether it's a three-way or four-way. But that's a discussion for future explanation. But again, you know, using a hypothetical of how this is all going to lay out of future. But, you know, again, putting this road in seems to make the most sense all the way through. And by no means I want to have any desire to push against what the city desires as well. We're happy to put the road in and have that. Like I said, that's why we did that other plat.
Thanks, Eric. Go ahead and mute again. Okay. Commissioners, is there discussion on this item? Do you feel comfortable?
Chairman, don't forget you need to ask if there's any public comment.
Thank you. Okay, let's open this up to comment for anyone wishing to chime in or share their thoughts. And remember, just please raise your hand and Lynn will get you into the meeting.
I don't see any
comments. Okay. Thanks for reminding me of that, Mr. Scott.
Welcome.
Okay, Commissioners. So one question we may still have for Eric, something that was brought up by staff that wasn't discussed was the construction or funds set aside for Mountain Road. Eric, do you have comment on that? That was something that was brought up as a condition of approval by city staff. Do you have ideas on how that should work?
Well, typically, you know, if we're setting that exact alignment of Mountain Road, we could make an adjustment to what would be lot 4. If you looking at the drawing you have right now, you can see normally we would adjust the plat to include to the center line of Mountain Road. So you would include maybe about 150 feet of curb line in the back of lot 4 to the center line, which almost just creates a little bit of a triangle area. Obviously, we don't want to build that. There should be no reason we build an island of asphalt right there, but what I would say is if we need to dedicate that piece right there as future Mountain Road, we can do that on this plat, or we just do it by way of an agreement with the city that we establish an escrow determining that tiny little triangle piece of what our share is to build that road. We establish an escrow so when it does get built, those funds are available to make sure it's done. But we would recommend and ask that we don't build it. I mean, because it doesn't connect to anything and there's no way for the city to service because it would become
the escrow requirement seems reasonable to you. I mean, I don't want to see that be built either, because I think it's inefficient. It's super spendy for a little bit, and it's just going to sit there and deteriorate till the rest of the road is built in, and essentially is going to need to be built twice. But you're in agreement that you'll work with the city on the escrow or whatever needs to happen there.
Yeah, if we need to include the plat, and that's what we can work with the city as well.
Okay.
If we do need to include the plat and say, here's this right of way dedicated, then that means we're pretty much determining that that is the exact alignment of Mountain Road. Then that's fine to add that little bit on there on lot 4. And then whatever our share is for that portion of road, that would be established in the same escrow that does to ensure the other streets are built when we record the plat. Other than that, would just sit as funds in there until that road gets built sometime in the future or something is established there. Is that how you would see that, John?
Yes, I think that makes sense.
Okay.
And that, that's one of the things that we want to do what's practical, and it helps that that the folks who own the property on the other side of the road are in the room talking at the same time, so we're not putting an obligation on a property owner that isn't there.
And while I can, I'm going to recommend Eric for not addressing his question to the Planning Commission and addressing City Council as directly. So
All right.
That's one strike. Thank you. Go ahead and mute yourself now. Oh, I love this. Okay. Okay, commissioners, any discussion on this item?
I just had one question. I think the conditions of approval that were covered in the staff report and orally by Mr. Bell, I think are very specific and self-explanatory. But there was one question I had about the fence is if we go forward with any motion, do we specifically have to address at this time the approved materials for the fence that has to be noted in the plat, or can that be done should we mention it now or wait until the final?
Were you looking for, I'm guessing you were looking for a response from me, Commissioner?
Yeah, I mean, we need to talk about that now in a motion, or is it okay not to include specifically the materials?
Just once, I don't think you need to include the materials
Okay.
right now. Let me look real quick at
It was actually in the last bullet on page 4 of the report.
Okay. Based on the ordinance, you could just mention that you could either wait till final, or you could just mention that it be one of the approved materials in the ordinance.
Okay.
Or a specific material could be added to your motion as well, based on the ability to have the flexibility that the ordinance provides.
Right.
So you don't need to address it at preliminary.
Okay.
You could.
All right. That's what I needed to know. Thanks.
You bet.
Anything else? I'd just like to maybe add if, thank the applicant for his consideration here. I think this is going to be a nice subdivision in North Ogden. I love the size of the lots. I think there's been consideration for the layout and a couple different options for us. Neither give us everything we need, but it didn't seem self-serving at all. And having worked with Eric for so long, I just really believe and feel that he has the best interest of North Ogden at heart on all the decisions he makes, and this one included. So I just want to commend him for that. But don't let that sway your decisions on anything, but I am willing to entertain a motion here.
I'll make a motion that we grant preliminary approval of the North Oaks Cove subdivision phase 17, subject to the conditions of approval outlined in the written staff report, as well as the oral presentation by Mr. Bell.
Can I clarify your motion? So that includes the building of 3550, the continuation of the 3550 road up through lot 5.
Yes, that's actually one of the bullet points in this written staff report.
Okay. This is why you should have been vice chairman.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any consideration or any discussion about this item? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Commissioner Nancaro,
Yes.
Commissioner Lunt,
Yes.
Commissioner Waite is not here. I don't have a full screen of people. Hold on. Commissioner Arner,
Yes.
oh boy. Okay, who am I missing?
I'll
Let's
say
see.
yes.
Commissioner Barker, thank you. You didn't show up on my screen. Okay, Commissioner Thomas abstains, and I vote yes. The motion passes. Thank you. Okay, I would like to turn the administration of the meeting back to Eric, and I abdicate all the powers and authorities and rights and privileges that were given to me, and boy, were they many.
All right, thank you. See, some people might laugh at me that I write everybody's names down before the meeting, but when it comes time to vote, no matter how many times I've seen all you guys, you can't remember your names.
I do too, usually, and I didn't this time, and it showed.
All right, well, item number 9, subdivision ordinance 2020-9, consideration and action regarding final approval for the Johnson Webb subdivision, 3-lot subdivision located at approximately 2600 north, 800 east. Presenter is Rob Scott. Rob?
Thank you, Chair, and members of the commission and audience. This particular application is before you is the 3-lot subdivision for Johnson Webb and his wife. Maybe you could just go down to the plat, Lynn.
Okay.
Thank you. So as you well remember, we've had a couple of adjustments with respect to the adjoining subdivision, Mountain Valley Villas Phase 2. You remember the last time we had this discussion, we had to amend that Phase 2 plat to give frontage to Lot 3 on this project. So as you can see in this subdivision, that has been accomplished. So what we're talking about tonight is grant final approval. The preliminary approval was given back in January. 3-lot subdivision, remember parcel A in Mountain Valley Villas where there's going to be a detention basin. That was adjusted to be smaller and to expand lot 3, which we like to do that, to have more usable property for private property owners to do that. Remember lots 1 and 2 are zoned R18. Lot 3 is zoned RE20. So we've looked at these lot sizes and frontages. They meet the minimum, they exceed the minimum standards as far as area and frontage. You'll remember that a geotechnical report was done as part of the Mountain Valley Villas that satisfied the needs here. We've received the will serve letters from both Central Weaver Sewer and Pine View. Also, we've taken a look at the overall design. There's also a couple of accessory buildings where we've determined that they are documented as being legal and or non-conforming. And lastly, the street right-of-way width for 2625 North is shown as 48 feet. This was approved as part of our low-impact design standards. There's also a small dedication on 2600 North as part of this subdivision approval. In terms of its conformance with the general plan, we believe that it meets all of our ordinances. The general plan map calls for this property to be developed as low-density residential and is within the Old Town neighborhood. So the summary of requirements, does it comply with the staff report requirements, comply with the engineering report requirements? Does the proposed subdivision meet the requirements of the applicable city subdivision and zoning ordinances? Is the proposed subdivision consistent with the North Ogden City General Plan? Staff recommends final approval of the Webb subdivision subject to the conditions in the staff report. And just, you don't need to necessarily make this as a motion, but just to let you know that we're going to need Mountain Valley Villas Phase 2 hasn't been recorded yet. They're in the process of getting it done. But in order for Lot 3 to be a legal lot, it has to have frontage. And so we would hope that would take place before the recording of this subdivision. With that, I'm happy to answer questions.
So just question on lot number 3, we're not really concerned about making it part of this motion?
I'm not. I think that the timing is such that they're in the middle of, they're constructing the road as we speak. So
Okay.
it's a matter of them dotting a few I's and crossing a few T's to get the that plat actually recorded.
Okay.
So if for some reason, I guess, being that this is final approval, for some reason, if the applicant, I guess what my suggestion would be, if they want to record prior to the recording of the Mountain Valley, whatever that is, subdivision recording, like you said, it will need frontage. So I guess really the recommendation is if there's a prior recording, then lot 3 be separated on its own plat. Otherwise, like you said, it has no access. And even though they're building the road, what if for some reason that applicant decides to leave town and never record the plat? So in order of that subdivision.
Staff would not allow this plat to be recorded without Mountain Valley Villas Phase 2 to be recorded prior to. So if you
Okay.
want to put that in there, you're more than welcome to do so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions, commissioners? Somebody's got some loud typing gets coming through. Sorry, Lynn, that's you.
No, it's not.
I don't see who's all muted or not, but
I just muted Brandon.
oh. Hey. All right. If there's no more questions or comments, then we'll open it up to any public have any comments or questions on this. I guess comments really for as it relates to this final approval of Johnson Webb subdivision.
I have one hand. It's Julie Anderson.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hi, Julie Anderson, 940 East, 2600 North. I guess I just need some clarification on lot 3. Are we not including this in the final approval? I guess I'm just a little confused on this one, because if we don't have the approval for the road in front, can you just explain that just a little better to me? I'm sorry, I don't mean to be a pain, but
the frontage of lot 3 has been final approved and they're building the road now, but it's owned by another parcel that this applicant doesn't own. So that's why if this receives its final approval, it'll be a condition that it can't be recorded until that road that fronts lot 3 is recorded. But it is.
Oh, okay, thank you.
That road in front already has its final approval and it is going forward. So
okay, that's what I needed, was just the clarification on that. I don't have any problems with it. I just needed that clarified. So thank you, Eric. I appreciate it.
you're welcome.
I don't see any other hands raised.
All right. Commissioners, any final discussion or entertain a motion?
Well, I guess I'll make a motion that we grant final approval of the Webb subdivision, subject to the conditions in the staff report, And just to repeat, I think I've got this correct, that that Lot 3 can't be recorded until the road that fronts Lot 3 is recorded. Did I phrase that properly?
Yeah. Okay.
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right. Commissioner Nancaro,
Yes.
Commissioner Mason,
He said yes with his thumb.
oh, sorry. Now he won't talk. Commissioner Lunt,
Yes.
Commissioner Arner,
Yes.
Commissioner Barker,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right.
You guys don't know what it does to me to be quiet. Like, gives me great anxiety.
All right. Sorry, that is it. So we're on to remarks from the planning commissioners. Now's your chance, Commissioner Mason. You can talk again. All right. If there's no remarks, how about Rob or Brandon? Any remarks from the planning department?
I have some upcoming training you as part of the emails you're getting with respect to the American Planning Association. The national conference this year is going to be online. And if anybody is interested in participating with that, we actually haven't discussed it as a staff, but I'm thinking if we decide to go ahead with that, we potentially would have a registration and then invite planning commissioners to come down to the city offices and tune into any of the sessions that they're interested in attending. There's going to be a spring conference this year. It's actually in Kanab, and it's in the same month of May. The national conference is May 5th through the 7th, and the spring conference is May 19th through the 21st. Now, they've indicated that they're going to have some in-person sessions, but it'll also be online. So I just share those dates with you at this point to put them on your calendar. Once we get some further conference sessions identified, then you may make a decision as to whether or not you want to participate or not. Any questions about that? And then I have an announcement to make. I have deliberated long and hard, but I've decided that I am going to retire again. And my last day with the city is going to be April 1st of this year. And there's no significance to April 1st. It happens to be a Thursday, just to let you know. I do have a couple of projects that I've let John know that I'm willing to maybe work on a couple of projects, but that's going to be the extent of it. John can talk about they're going to be advertising for the new planning director position here shortly. There'll be plenty of time for me to say thanks again. I love North Ogden. I've just thoroughly enjoyed working with you as a planning commission, the staff, the elected officials. It's a great honor for me to have been a part of hopefully providing some direction for the future of this great city.
All right. Well, thank you, Rob. I'm starting to feel like I've been doing this for a while now. We got Don gone, and I started before Rob did on this with Greg Barker as the planning director. So now our planning director's retiring before I'm done.
Hey, I've retired like 4 different times. So
you just spell it different as retried. You're retrying again.
Retreaded or something.
Yes. All right.
John, are you going to make a comment about the process for recruitment?
Yeah, so we are finalizing the job description. And then our plan is to put it out and get some feedback, get some applicants. The nice thing is in Utah, we have like the APA listserv we can use. And anyways, we're just going to try and get the word out to as many people as we can and hold some interviews. And, you know, I expect that we'll see a lot of qualified candidates, some that we may know, some that we don't, and we'll just kind of go from there. It might be worthwhile if one of the commissioners would like to participate in the interview panel when we get to that point, so that, you know, it'd be good to get some feedback. So if anyone was interested, if you'd let Rob or me know, then we will look at who, you know, obviously all of you can't jump on, but, you know, look at making sure we got some representation there.
John, this is Mayor. Why don't we have Commissioner Thomas appoint someone from the commission to represent that, including it could be himself. And just to mention also, it will be a full-time position.
That's great. I think that's a great idea.
Okay, well, we'll look at that. You say that begins, you're expecting to interview through March. Would that be?
I would be hoping we could get an interview, the interviews done or started by the end of February. If we could, we would like for the new person to be on board and having some time to work with Rob before he leaves. Because we can't just attach an external hard drive to Rob and pull all the information out of his head that needs to be passed on. So
There's a lot of space in between those ears.
We will surely hate to see Rob go, but I think he deserves a little freedom. He's worked long and hard, and I can tell you, Rob, retirement's not bad.
Yeah, he's neglected the yurt, so he needs to spend some time back up there.
Yes, indeed.
Well, yeah, Lynn, maybe if you would put just down in the, in the remarks category, maybe at our next meeting as a note of that, and then we can discuss and nominate somebody at our next meeting.
Sure.
Thank you. All right, any other remarks? John, do you have anything else?
yeah, just a couple quick updates for your information in case people ask you. So the road widening project 400 East will be starting here in the next couple of weeks. You'll start seeing some vegetation removed. And then the actual dirt work will probably start on or around March 1st. It is the same contractor for the UDOT intersection project as it is for the road headed north. So there won't be two different teams working over top of each other. If you see a shipping container in the aquatic center parking lot, there's a COVID testing station going on there, including the potential, if the vaccine becomes more available, that they would also administer shots there as well. That's a state contractor who is utilizing our facility there. And then just by way of information as well, the Cherry Days, in whatever form it ultimately is approved this year, will be occurring on Saturday, July 3rd. So mark your calendars and participate in the ways that work best for you. And that's what I've got.
Hey, thanks, John. On that, we've talked several times. I don't know if the city council has discussed, about closing as part of this construction project, about closing Pleasant View Drive off as it connects to Washington or 400 East. Has that gone any further about doing that as part of this project?
Yes, the council is discussing it next week. So they had a work session on it, and next week, in theory, they could approve a final conceptual design that then could be sent out for some design engineering work. And then we've been talking with UDOT about the best way to do it as part of the project so that we can use some of the same funds, since it's directly benefiting the project.
Well, good. That's good to hear.
John, do they have an estimated completion date of the road at all?
So the construction window is 6 months. Not all of that will be active construction. And what I mean by that is, there will be some months that are more intense and some months that are more dealing with landscaping and finishing it off. One part of the obligations that we've imposed on the contractor that will extend the project is that they have to keep travel lanes open. So one northbound lane and one southbound lane the majority of the time. There obviously will be sometimes for a few hours or in the wee hours into the night that there might be a pipe that needs to go in and the road will be closed. But in general, the north-south lane, there'll be movement regardless of the construction. Otherwise, we would really end up with a bottleneck and limit some access to homes as well as businesses. So.
Thank you.
All right, anything else? If not, entertain a motion of adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, until next time. Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Thank you all.
Good night, all.
See ya.
Night.